Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. As promised, 2 minutes has gone by, so we have Gian and Lisa join us. Hello, everyone. Whether this is your first or fifth webinar with us, we do appreciate you tuning in for today, and we are excited to share what we have planned. But before we get into that, let's just go ahead. I'll introduce myself. My name is John Martirano. I am a solutions consultant or industry process consultant for SolidWorks and Dassault Systems located in Waltham, Massachusetts, working from home, as I'm sure most of you are these days. Gian, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, hope you remember me. My name is Gian. I'm also a industry process consultant at Dassault Systems SolidWorks. Also rocking the home office as well. Very, very intrigued to be here with our special guest Lisa joining us today.
Oh,
Oh,
Lisa, it sounds like
Lisa,
you're muted.
I don't usually mute myself. That was an accident. So hey, it's me. I always work from home, so this is nothing new for me. But this is Lisa Costa, also an industry process consultant working with Dassault Systems SolidWorks. And glad to be here and add some product data management and product lifecycle management expertise to our webinar series.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys for introducing yourselves. And maybe, Gian, we can go ahead and you can share your screen and we can kind of talk a little bit about what we'll be going over. So here you can see on the screen now is a previous data set that we've used is the caulking gun demo that we, if you've tuned in previously, you might have seen this, but it's okay if you haven't seen it before. We're just going to look at the side of project management today and explain the capabilities of project management on the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. There are a lot of parts, especially when you're working together in an engineering project like this. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving components, a lot of tasks to be assigned. And you know what? Somebody's got to take control. Somebody's got to be the project manager. And that is why we've brought Lisa on with us today. Before we get started, if you're interested in a 7-day free trial of the 3DEXPERIENCE platform, there is a link in the question box as well. We'll also be sending out a follow-up email with that same link. With that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Gian, who's going to get us started.
Perfect. Thank you, John. So yeah, like John said, I'm going to turn off my webcam. And yeah, so we're going to be using previous model here, our caulking gun that we did a couple weeks ago. We made this part in X shape and this part in X design and assembled it all. So right now we're looking into a 3D viewer called 3D Play. And this is one of the primary ways that we're allowing everybody in the organization to be able to do their job from within the platform, because our project manager on this project, Lisa, doesn't actually need access to the CAD tools to be able to actually get into our model and look around, because everybody who has access to the 3DEXPERIENCE platform gets 3D Play, this viewing application by default. So that's pretty great. But I, in this case, am acting as a design engineer, so I can go ahead and jump over to my design tab. And I've already pulled this up in XDesign here. So before I make sure, I just want to go ahead and go through my collaborative tasks. So right now we're looking at one of our Inovia applications called collaborative tasks, and these are things that have been assigned to me. Now I'm a part of 2 tasks here. You can see design development and design review and approval. So John and I are responsible for the development of this design, and that's been in progress as I've been designing this in XDesign and X shape. And the design review and approval that we're going to wait for Lisa, once we're done, hand it off to her so that she can review it and let us know if we're in the clear. So I can go into XDesign, I'll maximize this, and I'll also go ahead and go into full screen so you can get the full effect here. And I can just visually verify, just looking through this model, make sure everything that I think is here is the way it's supposed to be and present. So I'll go over to my lifecycle tab, and I can also make sure that I am looking at the right revision of this part. So right now I'm looking into revision D. So here's our revision history, which is very useful here. We can just drag around the tree. So you can see I have plenty of branched revisions here off of different stages in the design process, but this is our final run, revision D, and that's the one that we want to attach to this task. So what I can do is I can go to my in progress task here, and I can attach it as a deliverable. So I can scroll down in here, and you can see here is also the caulk-on specifications. That was a PDF that Lisa attached to this when we first started designing this, so that we would know, we would have that basis to go off of. But now I just need to attach this deliverable, so I could search for the part here, or I could drag it right from my lifecycle revision history and drag it right into that from one application to the other. Super easy.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's
super intuitive.
very intuitive. And then even more intuitive than that, I can just drag and drop a task that's in progress to done and call it a day. The one thing I want to make sure I do before I let Lisa take a look at this, though, is I want to make sure that I promote the maturity state of this part to frozen, so that everybody else collaborating on this project and on the team sees that it's in frozen and knows therefore that it is under review. So I'll make sure that that's frozen. Should have done that before I promoted it to, before I moved the task to done, but that's okay, because Lisa won't take a look until I tell her to now. And I think we're just about ready to hand it over. So Lisa, go ahead and take it away. Let us know what you think.
Thank you, Gian. So real quick, again, everybody's seeing my screen. As we talked about before, Inovia Works is part of ingrained into the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. My role in this project, working on our caulking gun project, is that I am the project manager. I've got a little different view than Gian had of the data. I look at it from a big picture standpoint. These, by the way, are the exact same tasks that Gian was looking at, but when I look at it in the project plan view, more traditional Gantt chart type view, I see them with their dependencies, more of a calendar type view, also the milestones there. One thing I do want to take notice of is that I got a notification. So besides just seeing that the task is complete and it's gray, I also got a notification. It showed up live as well, but we didn't, when we switched the screen over, I saw it pop up, but you guys just didn't see it because it wasn't a quick transition as Gian was working. So I get constant feedback as to how things are going with the project. This is more like project execution than it is project, it is the plan, but also executing against that plan from that standpoint. So when I look at the tasks as a project manager, I can see, that Kanban type view that the design development is done. I can use that same methodology of starting the design review and approval, dragging it over to in progress. And again, because it is a single system, everything is feeding back to the same system, you can start to see that it's moved now to being started. So it starts to fill in that dark blue type color. A couple things I want to cover. Gian mentioned briefly that on the design development standpoint, that task had an attachment, which was the caulk gun specification. So that's what we're looking at right here. This is that same viewer that Gian was looking at. So I've got the input, which is the attachment that I handed off to our design team that they worked against, and then we have the actual deliverable. So as the project manager, I can grab that deliverable right from there. I don't have to leave, I don't have to search for it, I can just grab it from the task, and I can use that viewer that we were talking about, the enterprise, everybody else in the company has access to start taking a look at this design. So when I look at it, this is what we planned on doing. Gian and John have done everything right. But as a victim of circumstance, like many of us are now, things have changed and we actually need to modify. I know the original specifications called for a smaller opening, but industry changes, industry has changed the nozzle specifications, so we are going to need to make a change. So this viewer tool also has the ability to do some quick markups, kind of informal type markups. By the way, I don't want to underplay the Inovia Works functionality. We do have formal markups that can be done, as well as changes, deriving and issues and things like that. But for today's purposes, we're focusing on project management and the collaboration tools that we have. So I am going to do that simple markup. I'm going to make myself a circle here, and I'm going to
look at
write
that. Turn it into a nice
Didn't
circle.
it? I love the way it cleans it up. Makes even the sloppy stuff look neat. So
makes you an artist.
That's right, because God knows I'm not. Lead larger, 24mm opening. I always talk to myself when I type, just to clue you in on what that is. So now that I've made my markup, right, so I have that ability to make a markup real quick. And what I'm going to do with that markup is post it to our community. So again, that collaboration, that from a standpoint of the team I'm working with on the caulking gun development, I'm going to say nozzles change. Can't type. Nozzles change, and so do I. So do we. So need change per note. So I'm going to publish that to our community. So again, working from my dashboard, I'm able to access that viewer, make that simple markup, publish it to that community. That's our collaboration tool for doing that. So now that I've done that, so I have a couple other things that I want to do, keeping in mind that we are still feeding off that same data. What I'm going to do for this task is, instead of using, so just to show you there's multiple ways to do this, is that I'm going to say, I'm going to push that particular task back to in progress. So it's going to show up in the bucket for Gian from a standpoint of things to do. I'm also going to come back down here and refresh my tool here. And I can use that same lifecycle tool, but again, before we saw Gian using the lifecycle tool right inside of his CAD application, so right inside of XDesign, which is the 3D creator role, I'm able to enact or based on my role, based on what I'm allowed to do. So obviously there's all sorts of ways to slice and dice permissions and access, but in this particular case, because I am the project leader for this particular project that we're working on, I'm going to go in here and I can actually change the life cycle of that to released. Not released, back to in work. Released is an option if it was right, but because I need that change, I'm going to go back to in work. So big picture purposes, everybody's work on the same data. It doesn't matter if it's a deliverable, doesn't matter if it's the life cycle. Everybody immediately sees those changes. So in this case, as far as the design review and approval I started, I'm going to send it back to Gian, and you can see here his design development task is no longer complete or gray, and it's now turned into this dark blue color. Real quick before I pass it back, Gian, sorry, one thing I forgot to cover. When you're looking at the projects, you can also look at a summary type view. I know we've already looked at the tasks, we looked at the schedule, but you can also see a summary type view of what's running late, how many tasks are out, and also a burn down of when we're going to complete this and hopefully wrap this project up on time by April 27th, which is our go-to-market plan. Back over to you, Gian.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Ball's in your court.
Yeah.
How are you going to handle all this pressure, Gian?
Oh, the pressure is on. So I can take a look right now. We're looking into the community that Lisa just posted this to. So I can see her post right here. Her note, industry standards change, need larger 24 millimeter opening, contrary to previous post I made when we were first researching this project, where we thought the nozzle diameter would be at 18 millimeters based on industry standards. But clearly those have changed, so we have to adapt accordingly. So what I can do is jump right back over to my design tab, and I could search for my part up here and then drag it into XDesign, or another really handy tool that we have in the Innovia suite is the bookmarks. So I can just, when I search for a part, I can drag it into my bookmarks, and now I don't have to bother searching. I can just drag it right into my XDesign window and my XDesign landing page and open it up and start messing around. So I don't need to see my, what's that, John?
It's a huge time saver.
Oh, big time saver. So I'll turn off these planes so you get a little bit better of a view. And yeah, this should be a very easy change. So we just want to change this diameter in here. So I know that this is the part that I'm going to be using, so I can just give that a nice double click to activate it. And I know it's Sketch 2 driving that feature that's just cutting a hole through this. So all I have to do is just change an 18 to a 24, and that's pretty much it. So we have our change now. We have our larger nozzle diameter here, our bigger opening. So what I can do is now give this a save, and I want to go back to my life cycle tab and make sure that I put this back in the frozen state once again, so that once again everybody is on the same page that this is under review, or nobody should touch it, for the time being, per Lisa's instructions. So I'll double click just to get back to the overarching assembly view, and it's already telling me to update this, which is perfect. So There we go here. And once that loads, that'll be all set to go. And we can go into our design and our design development task here. And if I made a new revision of this component to make that change, if that's the route that I took, then I would have to update my deliverable here. But in this particular case, I didn't have any change. I didn't actually have to create a new revision. I already had what I needed. I just needed to update one number. So the data will actually stay the same. And when Lisa opens this once again, she will see the changes that I've made in this part without me having to actually update this. So I can just skip right ahead to my favorite part of being in my collaborative tasks app, and that's dragging something from in progress to done.
That just looks satisfying.
Oh, super satisfying, John. So with that, I mean, it looks like that was a pretty easy change for me. So I can hand it right back to Lisa at this point.
You can't let him get off that easy, Lisa.
Well, unfortunately, he's got good tools, so he's probably going to get off that easy. So again, so back at the project manager level view, I can drag and drop that assembly. So going off of what Gian was saying from a standpoint of looking at the deliverable doesn't change because it's still looking at the same object, right? So we're still working on revision D of this thing, so it doesn't matter. And obviously he has made the change as we saw. So I see that immediately and have that feedback that design development task is complete again, and I can continue on with our design review and approval. So when it comes to the actual data itself, so I review it. He's obviously made the change that we like, that we asked for, and I want to go back to my lifecycle tool here and again release this in this case. So we have the ability to put it back to and work. Again, you could iterate several times back and forth. At this point, we're going to say that's what we're going to move forward with because our project, of course, is wrapping up soon. So we're going to release that assembly and say that's the one we're going to go to market with. So from a project perspective, I'm going to go back here and say basically design review and approval is done. And now from when it comes to getting a product out the door, it'd be nice if that's all that you needed to have was a design. But as we know, we're going to have to actually get marketing materials. We're going to have to figure out our packaging and shipping requirements and also get our manufacturing planning started as well. So when we look at our schedule now, and what we're working on, we've got those other tasks that will now be set in motion with our other team members, or in this case, since it's a team of 3, I guess that's back over to me, huh? But
sounds like it.
So yeah, so that was kind of a round trip of quickly showing some, emphasizing the Innovia works, underpinnings of being able to do planning, life cycle, the built-in viewer. One important aspect that we didn't mention is that any device, anywhere. Lisa, as a project manager, may not use a Windows machine. She might use tablet, could be on her phone. If travel is actually permitted these days, I could have approved that and done all that right from an app sitting on a train, if those kind of things happened anymore.
Excellent. Well, let's just go ahead and turn our webcams on, do a quick review of everything, because I think there was a lot that happened in just a short period of time. So Gian, you started with a task and you completed it to what the current industry standards told you to basically create the project on, and from there you gave it to Lisa to review, and she realized that the industry had changed a little bit, so she sent it back to you. You made a quick change and sent it back to her, and you're on your way. So you're able to have freedom in the cloud and just be able to move very, very quickly, and create changes, and able to move on with the project. So with that, I think, Gian, you said that we have a survey because we do value everybody's feedback.
Yes, we do. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. And we just want to know, we want to better gauge what all of our viewers want to see, what you'd like to see more of in future webinars. So if you have a preference, go ahead and let us know what you want to see more of. And we'd be happy to try and fit some of that content that you're looking for into one of our next webinars. So this is also a great time to type in some questions into that question box as well when you get a chance.
That's right. Bring them on.
definitely want to be respectful of everyone's time too. So we'll start with these questions as you're answering the survey, if that's all right. And Lisa, you being the project manager expert here, I think this one's for you. So are there other life cycle states besides just in work, frozen, and released?
Oh, yes. So there's a private state that you could use kind of at the beginning if you want to keep something under wraps and don't want other people to see it until it's ready to be shared with a larger audience. So there's certainly a private state. And if you're doing things like designing your kitchen at home using the tools and you want to keep that under wraps, you can use that. And we also, beyond released, we have an obsolete state. So certainly revisions become obsolete or entire parts become obsolete. We don't use them anymore. So certainly we have a life cycle. And something that probably might have gotten glanced over, but that ability to release that part is based on my rights and access rights. So it's not like I am the project lead, so that's why I was able to do that. So the way that the platform access and permissions, obviously you wouldn't want everybody under the sun to be able to grab a part and say, yes, that's the one we're going with, release it. So that is something that is controlled by the environment and what role people play in the particular project that they're on.
Excellent.
Perfect.
Cool.
We had a question, how would that process have changed if the product edit was in SOLIDWORks instead of 3D Creator? It actually wouldn't have been much different. So everything you saw, the only thing that would have been different would have been being in the SOLIDWORks desktop tool, and everything to do with it. So those life cycles, the project management, all of that remains the same, whether we're working on desktop SOLIDWORks data that's managed in the cloud or if it's cloud native data. So great question. The only thing that would have been different, instead of Gian just going to a tab and using the 100% web-based tool to make that edit, he would have launched his SOLIDWORks desktop, handy SOLIDWORks desktop tool, downloaded the assembly and made that change and just uploaded it, but everything else would have been exactly the same workflow.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe that should be the next time that we show our product management tools, is maybe we should
Here's an
include
idea.
the SolidWorks workflow in there.
Right. Exactly. Good suggestion. I like the way you think, Gian.
Again, if you're interested in a 7-day free trial of the 3DEXPERIENCE platform and you'd like to get your hands on some XDesign and Xshape, just reach out to us. There'll be a follow-up email after the webinar. It'll be sent out to all the attendees, and there's also a link in the question box. So if you want to sign up, please do, because honestly, we want you guys to see for yourself how awesome these tools are, and just how much freedom you will have being able to use it on any device and from anywhere with an internet connection. I mean, it's pretty cool. So
including product management, project management. Yay.
Exactly. And yeah, so with that, I think we thank you so much for joining us. And in 2 weeks from now, we will have another webinar on a Monday at 11:30 a.m.